Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Talk Wordy, my hub for all of the words that I read, write, or otherwise want to yap about. Today, I have a very special author guest on the pod. She's the author of romances that are full of humor, adventure, and Pacific Northwest vibes, and her new book, Capture My Flag, will kick off the Camp Clandestine series on April 14th. Please welcome K.L. Parsons.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I was just telling you before we started, I was like, it's about time that I have another adult summer camp book in my life, because I wrote one a while ago. It's what I got out of the query trenches with, but I feel like I haven't heard of any other book like it, and so I'm like, oh my gosh, there's something that's out and published that I can read and resonate with. I'm so excited about it. But before we get to talking a little bit more about you and your books, something that I like to ask all my guests normally when we have a full episode is what you're reading, watching, and listening to. But for the sake of time, I guess I just want to narrow it down to, do you have any current hyperfixations as of late? Is there a TV show or a movie or a book or something that's just been super hot on the brain, exciting for you?
Oh, man, I bounce around, honestly. It's my fixations bounce from thing to thing to thing to thing. And so it's funny because whenever someone asks me, what's your all-time favorite book? I don't have one, because it tends to be like the book I'm reading at that moment is the one that is just like living in my mind until it's time to move on to the next one. So I did just finish Megan Quinn Till Summer Do Us Part. And that's at another, that's a summer camp one. And so I wanted to read something that kind of had that vibe. So I guess I'll say that's my hyperfixation, is I just finished that one and it was fabulous.
Love it. Okay, perfect. So have you always wanted to be a writer, or was that something that developed later on for you?
That was a later on thing. So my mom likes to joke that I could be a million different things, because I was interested in so many different things, and I've bounced around from career to career to career. I've been a youth counselor. I've been in human resources. I've been a bartender. I've done so many different things. And so it wasn't until after I finished my master's degree and I finished my master's thesis that I thought maybe this is something that I could do. And so it's still less than 5 years that I've been doing the writing process.
I love that, though. I feel like there's never any in between. It's like I either discovered writing a lot later than I could have, or I've been writing as a kid, elementary school. So I think it's fun. So as a Texan who has never been to the Pacific Northwest, what is it about that area that's just so magical for you, enough to where you've written it into all of your books?
It's so lush. It's green. It's beautiful. It's mountainous. There are trails, waterfalls everywhere. It's just, I don't know, the air just feels fresh and revitalizing there. And I've always lived in Washington, so I'm definitely a Washingtonian girl. I may someday, convince my husband to maybe retire down here when we're we're old and our knees are creaky. But there's just something about it that is just rife with this magical element. Without the actual fairies and magic of it. So it's the right place for adventure, and it's just the right place for love.
I love that. Okay, so let's talk about Capture My Flag.
Okay.
So like I was saying, it's about time another person wrote an adult summer camp book. What were some of your favorite summer camp memories growing up?
So I went to a camp called Miracle Ranch in Washington, and it was exactly what you'd think it would be. So it had the cabins with the wooden bunks and, a bunch of girls crammed into one space, and it had the campfire time where we sang songs and canoes, and I learned that I hate riding in canoes. I like kayaks because I can do it by myself.
Yeah.
But if I have to rely on a bunch of other people to row, I'm gonna lose it. But we did horseback riding, archery, candle making, just all of the things. And so writing this was very much like a trip down memory lane, but then also kind of interweaving the fantasy of what if I was an adult doing these kinds of things?
Yeah. So what parts of the summer camp atmosphere can readers expect to find in Capture My Flag?
Oh, it's the whole thing. If you've ever been to a summer camp, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, I feel this. And so in this one specifically, it centers around a Capture the Flag tournament that is between two rivals. And every year they keep coming back and going head to head. And it started off to where they just could not stand each other. He is just like this awful corporate douche, and she calls him on it right away. And so obviously they're heads, but immediately. But gradually there's an unrequited kind of crush that happens on his side of things. So, but yeah, there's everything from the cabins with the wooden bunks to, meeting in the mess hall for breakfast and going for swims and archery and just all the things that you would do at a summer camp happen in this series.
I love that. Something that's been like a hot debate in the contemporary romance genre is that some enemies to lovers books are actually just rivals to lovers. Considering Capture My Flag is a rivals to lovers, where do you personally think the line between rivals and enemies really falls?
Yeah, so I feel like unless you want to get into the weeds, like it's pretty much interchangeable. Like if you say enemies to lovers, rivals to lovers, it's pretty much the same thing until you start really digging down to it. And I think where I draw the line is that enemies kind of want each other dead.
Yeah.
It's like cloak and dagger, and they're trying to bring about the demise of their enemy, and their families are warring factions and just all this. And so originally I was like, oh yeah, this is an enemies to lovers. Then I kept thinking about it, and I'm like, they're rivals. Because they go head to head, they compete, and that's a rivalry. So that's where I am with that one. I do have another book from a different series where I have it listed as enemies to lovers. It's definitely rivals. They don't like each other. They don't want each other dead. But I'm just gonna keep it as enemies to lovers because you get the gist.
Exactly. So outside of summer camp, are you a camper kind of person in general? And if so, what are your favorite hidden gem camping spots that you like to go?
Oh, yeah. So I have not done a lot of camping recently, I'd say in the last 7 or 8 years. And it's because I've got a son, he's 7, and he likes hiking, but he also likes consistency. He's kind of a schedule guy. He's a at-home kind of guy. And so we haven't done camping quite yet with him because we don't feel like he's ready.
Yeah.
We've done little cabin camping and the KOAs and that kind of thing, and he seems to love that. But in a tent, I think he's not quite ready for that. But I did a ton of camping when I was a kid and as a young adult, and it was a lot of fun. One of my very favorite places was to camp over at Staircase, which is in the Olympic National Forest. And so it's on the Olympic Peninsula of Washington, kind of up and away. And you have to drive across the Hood Canal Bridge and just up, and it's beautiful. There, it's right next to a river, and there's these waterfalls and these trails, and it was just a beautiful place, and it was a lot of fun. My friends would get together, and it was a rustic site. It did have actual toilet bathrooms, which was a blessing.
Yes, no kidding.
No needing to cop a squat behind a bush, but and so I'd say that was one of my very favorite places to go and camp.
I love that.
Yeah, Staircase.
So before you started writing all of your other books, what were some of the books in the genre that kind of inspired you to think, oh, I could do this because I loved this book and I want to write something like it? Or if this author can do it, I want to do it myself. What were those books that really inspired you as a beginner writer?
That's tough. I mean, reading romance has been the better part of... how old am I now? Almost 30 years I've been reading romance. I started reading romance at arguably an inappropriate age. And it was the old classics, the Jude Deveraux and the Judith McNaught and Julie Garwood and just all of the greats. And so I think a lot of that has stuck with me because I've always read primarily romance. But more recently, I think the books that kind of resonated the most and that helped to bring my current creations to life are Christina Lauren's Something Wild, or Something Wilder. Let's see, Catherine Center, the Happiness for Beginners,
Yeah.
because they do like the outdoorsy. My first book is about a woman who is recently dumped, and she just wants to go and find herself, and so she goes hiking, and so it very much has that kind of a vibe. So those are kind of the two big ones. K.A. Tucker, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name, but it's where she goes up to Alaska and goes and falls in love with a bush pilot. And I'm blanking on the name right now because the lights are on me and the cameras. It'll come to me later and I'll think, it was this. But K.A. Tucker. So those are like greats that really, I'm like, if ever I could be a 10th as good as them, I'm going to feel like I've arrived.
I love that. Okay, is there a book that if you could wipe your memory and reread it for the first time, is there a book that you would pick in particular?
Ooh, gosh, that's tough. See, and that kind of goes back to how I don't have like an absolute favorite.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's tough. Okay, so Love and Other Words kind of destroyed me by Christina Lauren.
Yeah.
I stayed up all night reading it, and my husband woke up at like 3 a.m. and I'm sitting there just like blubbering like a big baby, and he's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "This book is just so beautiful." So I'm gonna just say that one because it really affected me emotionally.
Yeah.
And sometimes I like when a book catches you off guard and you're like, I didn't realize it was gonna be that, you know?
Yeah. I think it's hilarious that you mentioned Catherine Center and Christina Lauren. I'm like, there are two essential headliners at this convention.
I know.
So you're probably living your best
I'm
life
losing
right
my
now.
mind. I'm losing my mind. I'm just low-key creeping on them, staring back.
It's like, I love you.
How could I like slide this over and
No,
be like,
exactly.
you want a free one?
I mean, why not? I feel like
know.
any author, if another author's like, hey, like, I just want you to have this, like,
Yeah.
I would absolutely take it.
Yeah.
But that's
We'll
just
see.
me.
I may. We'll see how brave I get
Yeah.
at the signing today.
And then I lost my train of thought. Where'd it go? If you could take 3 months to yourself and you had, like, let's say you had to leave the Pacific Northwest to draft your next book in like complete solitude, where would you want to go and what would you want to do during your writing breaks?
So I would have to leave the Pacific Northwest area.
Probably yes, but I mean, I'll honor the fact that you would also still choose the Pacific Northwest.
Right, because I write Pacific Northwest,
Yes.
right? So I get inspiration from there. I would say I would probably either go to Yosemite and be in and around that area, or I would go to Yellowstone. So somewhere that's outdoorsy, nature is calling, because everything I write has nature and the outdoors steeped into it. And so I've been to both places and I love it and it's beautiful, and I just feel like I could easily like make myself a cup of coffee and sit out on a porch and watch the bison walk by, you know, like, and just get inspiration from that.
I love that.
Oh, and then what I would do in times when I wasn't writing is I'd be exploring, hiking, climbing, doing all that stuff.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the time that we're recording this, we're at Lovelet Con, but
Yes.
obviously our listeners aren't going to see this until later on down the line. So tell them a little bit about where they can find you, whether that's social media, your website, if you have any upcoming events, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so the majority of my events are all in the Washington area. This is my first flyaway. It's like flyaway camp, my first flyaway event. But you can find details of where I'm going to be. I'm going to be at Hot and Steamy and Readers and Writers in Seattle and a bunch of other, I like working with local indie bookstores because they're just such champions for indie authors like me. And so I'll be at a lot of places there, but you can find details about that on my social media at KL Parsons Books. All my social handles are the same, so KL Parsons Books, and you'll be able to find me. Also, my website is klparsonsbooks.com, and so you can find details there as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there you have it. Thank you so much for tuning in to Talk Wordy. And my thanks again to Kale Parsons for coming on the show. Don't forget to follow the podcast on Instagram at TalkWordyPod, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, you guys.
Thanks.